In episode 25 of Roots of Humanity, I interview Vít Jedlička about how he founded Liberland, the world's newest micronation. Back in 2015, Vít became the first president of the small plot of land between Serbia and Croatia, an island not claimed by either country. A libertarian from the Czech Republic, Vít tells me how he saw an opportunity for freedom, how taxation in Liberland is voluntary, and how his government is moving towards blockchain-based systems. Culturally, I reminisce about attending the Floating Man Festival, which is Liberland's biggest party, and how Vít and I tried to cross the border this summer but were stopped by the Croatian police. Today, there are about 900 citizens of Liberland who all have their own legit passport, and I'm one of them, but over 700,000 people are currently in line for their e-residency. Could you be the next Liberlandian? Tune in to find out what it takes, but don't go so fast. Here's a behind-the-scenes interview from my recent trip to Liberland, where I first met Vít on the ground at the Floating Man Festival. What did you do in your past life? What did you do before 2015?
Well, I was financial analyst for actually a year and a half, which helped me really with the media training. And before that, I actually started educational portal. We had also 20 million views. But anyway, so I was doing that. I was trying to teach people about freedom. And at some point, I decided the best way to push the idea forward is by practicing it on the highest possible level that we can get to. That means starting a country.
What was the spark? What was the first moment where you were like, I recognize this land, I want to make this a country?
Well, we were looking for some time to start a country. We really wanted to build a libertarian country based on minimal taxation or voluntary taxation as we have right now, and very little regulations. We know it works. You know, we have places like Singapore that were just pieces of rock or fisherman's village, and in 40 years they have grown to these enormous powerhouses. And the first thing that they did, they got rid of customs. Can you imagine that? Like, you have this crazy system of customs all around the world. You just get rid of those stupid taxes and you get enormous prosperity in very short time. So we're trying to build like a small Singapore in Balkans.
How many current residents are there?
We've got 7,000 e-residents now and around 1,000 citizens out of 700,000 applications.
Is there anything else like Liberland? Any other countries?
Interestingly enough, we don't have much competition, but there is nothing that claims full sovereignty, and we decided to just don't make compromises. Like, we want to be free. We don't want to start free zone in some country.
Yeah.
We want to really get like the full spectrum of the freedom.
So tell me about this festival. What's happening here?
Well, this is our yearly festival. We are planning to settle Liberland on one of these festivals in a proper way when we feel confident about our relations with Croatia as well as our own governance. And I hope it will be partially already this one, so cross fingers for us.
What's the national language?
It's Liberlandish. I'm speaking it right now very fluently.
What I love about you, man, is you're just one of us. I wouldn't even know who I was. Oh, that's the guy who started Liberland? That's cool. I love the vibe, because like anytime you would meet any president or head of state for any country. I met the Somaliland president, and it's just like, it's so official, and like you walk in the room and there's 3 guys opening the door, and I sit down and shake his hand. Like, so I don't know, I kind of have an obsession with meeting someone who controls whatever it is. I just think it's so cool. So thank you for just being so like open and awesome, man.
Thank you really for coming.
And with that all being said, let's dive right into it. How you doing?
Great.
Are you in New York?
I was there yesterday. Now it's Mexico City, this event, you know, and it's a big event, like a lot of interesting speakers, like people like Kiyosaki come down, etc. So,
man, look at you on the move.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty busy, you know, a couple of days now. 2 days in DR, and a big meeting actually here in Mexico City, 2 days in DR for serious diplomatic discussions, then 3 days in Washington, D.C., and then I have to go back to the village because we have like serious investors that somehow managed to convince the customs and border police that they will fly directly with the helicopter to our property and they will do the customs on our property, which is completely unheard of, but somehow they managed to do it. They probably bribe them so they don't have to go through regular border crossing.
You mean the Ark Village?
But I don't know how they do it. I don't want to assume that, but it's amazing that they are flying directly to, like, literally doing customs in that restaurant that we're preparing to build.
Anything is possible if you have money. That's what I've learned as I've traveled. So I'm actually editing the Liberland video now with my team, and it's absolutely amazing. Like, it was such a fun adventure. I'm excited for it.
I'm looking forward. I think that will be fun.
Yeah, it's it's gonna really bring a lot of attention to Liberland, and for all the right reasons, and that's really the goal here. So this podcast is called Roots of Humanity, and really I dive into cultural identity and talk to people about where they're from, what that means to them. But this episode is going to be a little different because you've essentially started an identity in a way. But before we get to Liberland, I want to just know real quick, where are you originally from? And tell me about your background growing up.
Well, I was born close to Prague, actually, in Hradec Králové. And that's, of course, a place where I was born during the communism time. So I was very strongly influenced by looking how badly the society can be managed for so many years. And that really got me on this quest to find more freedom and more prosperity.
I love it. Short and sweet. So did you go to university in Czech?
Yes, I actually studied international high school. So that was a good opportunity to meet people from all around the world. And then I went on to study economics, and I finished with the monetary reserves bachelor's work. And then I studied political science, where I focused on the bad sides of the global governance or global government. Mm-hmm. And those were basically two of my biggest interests, economy and politics.
I also studied economics, so we definitely have a similar background and interest. But in all those economics classes and in the political science classes, they don't teach you how to start a country.
No, and I'm surprised that there are not more people doing that, even though I very recently met some exciting startup countries. Anyway.
So walk me through the process. Like all of a sudden you wake up someday and you're like, I think I can start my own country.
I mean, the process was quite, easy in a way that you go through these phases when you realize that, educating people is not enough. Doing politics in your country is not enough. It simply wouldn't have an impact in my lifetime. Even if we managed to win the elections in Czech Republic, not much would change after all. And because changing the systems from grounds up, it's very difficult, and it's much better basically to start fresh when you really want to inflict some serious social change. And basically you give people an opportunity to opt out of the existing system, vote with their feet instead of their votes. And that's what Liberland was about, to start on the green ground and try to basically put together the best ideas from history with the best technology together to build a new country.
I guess the struggle with building a new country is where is it going to be physically? So when did you hear about this piece of land on the border of Serbia and Croatia? And if that piece of land didn't exist, would you have still created Liberland in a different place?
No, definitely. We actually first created Liberland, and then we were looking for the piece of land. And I'm convinced that Liberland is still the best choice that we could get. Heart-shaped territory with beautiful sandy beaches without any claim by our neighbors to it. Of course, it's a challenge to explain them all the potential benefits that Liberland has, but I think it's also most culturally close territory to what we need, and bringing more freedom to this area is very much needed.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, luckily it's pretty close to Czech Republic. It's only like a 7 or a 10-hour drive, so you can really just get down there. Plus, Serbia is amazing. I fell in love with Serbia in 2011, so I love that country. So the fact that Liberland is so closely tied with Serbia because it's near Serbia and Croatia, I think it's a fascinating part of the world. So that's, I'm super excited about that.
Definitely, and there are these two historic ties which I have to mention. The first president of Czech Republic actually was, he was of course suppressed by the Austrian Empire when he was trying to build Czechoslovakia as an independent country, and he actually got the passport from Serbia to travel around and lobby for the creation of Czechoslovakia.
Really?
So there is this one element which I think is pretty cool, and the other cool element is that the Czech legend says that basically somewhere between 5th to 7th century, the guy called Czech moved to Czech, he founded Prague basically from the territory that was between Croatia and Serbia. So there are these two historic ties to the territory also. So literally we're kind of just coming back.
That's great. And you're the perfect ambassador to be there to establish such a community. So listen, when people, I did a couple of posts about Liberland, but I'm saving the meat of it for a few weeks from now. But people have already messaged me like, what is Liberland? And I don't know if I should tell everybody the same thing or I have a different answer, because it's many things. But if I gave you 60 seconds to have the floor, what is Liberland?
Liberland is a startup country that wants to be the freest country and the most prosperous country on the planet. Of course, we're in different development stages. But we need to pass the DAC test. The DAC test for the country is basically act like country, look like country, walk like country, and that's what we are doing.
Yeah, I love the little pin on your suit. It's got the official Liberland. I actually was given the cufflinks as well when I got my citizenship. So, speaking of citizenship, thank you. It's pretty amazing to be an official citizen of Liberland. How many people have a passport?
There are 200 diplomatic passports given out that basically represent some 160 active diplomats that work for Liberland right now. And then there are, I think, close to 1,000 regular passports given out to our citizens, but there are more citizens that didn't get the passport yet. And we've got some 7,000 e-residency cards as well giving out. So the community is around 10,000 people right now.
And you're really seeing almost exponential growth of people applying, getting interested. How has that been for you? Like, you obviously have a staff and you have an office and the headquarters in Prague. Like, are you guys overwhelmed with what's going on?
Well, pretty much, this month has been quite busy. Summer usually is a little bit slower, but always September, October, and until Christmas, we've got usually dozens of serious people that are applying for citizenships. And right now, just today on this conference, I spoke at least with 12 people that are becoming citizens. So this is, by the way, ideal conference. I'm here in Mexico for Nomad Capitalist Live conference, where people are looking into ways how to get second citizenship and how to basically lower their tax burdens in their countries.
Wait, Nomad Capitalist, is that the Andrew guy?
Yes, of course.
That's his conference.
Yes, that's the Andrew Henderson's conference.
I didn't catch that. Tell him I say hi. That's funny.
I will.
Man, I wish I could have joined you. You gotta send me a schedule of where you're going in the next few months, and I'll see where.
I will give you the complete list, and you should get it also through our mailing list. So just, if you're not signed up for the mailing, then get it, and you will see all our moves in every single month.
Sure. So sticking on Liberland, as I told you, this podcast is about cultural identity. So it's interesting, like, what is the culture of Liberland? I mean, I experienced the Floating Man Festival, which is an amazing gathering of people and ideas and music, and it was really amazing a few months ago. But what I noticed is that it's really people from all over the world. It doesn't have a single face or a race attached to it, but you guys have some kind of identity with your flag, with your, I don't know, maybe. What is Liberland cultural identity?
Like they say that the nations are defined by things like language, like different race or like same race or some other cultural things. But to be honest with you, I think the best defined nations and best functioning nations are places like Switzerland. They have 4 languages. The thing that binds them together is that basically they distrust their own government. They very well know that their own government is the biggest danger to their liberties, and that's what makes Switzerland so free for so long, right? So people are always looking into the best nations are always, agreeing on how they want to govern themselves, and they usually agree that it's good to have a limited government and have as much freedom as possible.
That's really nice how you compared to Switzerland, because I love Switzerland, and you're right. It's fascinating that there's 4 languages spoken there. I was just there like a few months ago. It's really interesting. Have you shown any support from Switzerland or any other EU countries?
We've got, like, just to mention, Switzerland is not actually EU,
That's right.
Which is also one of the reasons why they're so free in a way. But we've got, I think, 1,800 people that applied for citizenship just from Switzerland alone. We have a very nice office in Zug. We have very strong supporters there from different influential families as well. And I'm heading there to Zurich. We're speaking at the World Crypto Conference in January, and we're also establishing the foundation for creation of Liberland that will lobby in Switzerland, especially with the UN institutions, for recognition of Liberland starting next year.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible. How does like the money system work? Is there physical money? Is it all crypto? How do the taxes work? Just explain a little bit about the society of Liberland.
We've got the voluntary tax system, and whenever somebody pays taxes, actually they get merits in return. And those merits we are putting now on blockchain, so people will actually be shareholders of the country that they're living in. And I believe it's a very important upgrade to the existing democracies, which is long overdue. And just in terms of money, we really recommend people to keep Bitcoin and trade in Bitcoin. We believe the future is going to be the cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin is the first solid cryptocurrency that was created. So Liberland reserves are in Bitcoin from 2015, and I think it was a good strategic decision.
So if and when there are thousands of people living on the land, you see all the transaction happening with Bitcoin?
Well, that's the cool thing. We are not pushing that. Like, unlike El Salvador, where we were actually half a year ago for the launch of the Bitcoin City, which I think is also a competitive project to Liberland in a way. Unlike them, we are not making Bitcoin legal tender. You can do your business in whatever currency you want. You can even use Liberland dollars that will be also soon available.
This question might sound obvious, the answer, but I want to hear from you. What are the biggest challenges to actually starting a country?
Well, I would say it goes pretty smooth. Right now, I think the biggest challenge is to get the constitution and blockchain governance as correct as possible, because that will define a lot of things for the future. If we make a programming mistake or we word things not very precise in the constitutions, we might have problems later on. So those two things, getting the code of our blockchain governance right, as well as getting the wording of our constitution as good as it can get, are my top priorities over the next 2 months.
So that's your priority, get the constitution down. But what about getting recognition from other countries? Isn't that what makes a country a country?
Well, not really. If you read the Montevideo criteria, one of them actually says, or one of the articles says, that it doesn't matter if the country is recognized or is not recognized by other countries. It doesn't make it less of a country if it's not recognized by other countries. Of course, it helps, but if you're functioning like a country, then you don't really need recognition by other countries. On the other hand, we are, of course, fighting in some 120 countries for diplomatic recognition. We have, I think, very, very solid representation in more than 60 countries, and that, of course, brings the results. So 2 days from now, I'm heading to yet another country that decided to recognize Liberland. We have very high-level meetings there. I hope it will result in first full-fledged diplomatic recognition for Liberland, not just multilateral treaties or bilateral treaties like we signed previously with countries like Haiti and made friends, but with a regular process in which other countries recognize each other.
That is so exciting. I mean, I have a dream that I could actually just show up at the airport with my Liberland passport and nobody's going to ask questions. Well, of course they're going to ask questions. Even if you come from like Liechtenstein, when you go to the airport, they're going to ask questions like, what is Liechtenstein? But it will be so cool to like travel to Haiti or wherever, the DR or any other country with a Liberland passport.
We're organizing the trip for you, and you will not have too much questions asked. Of course, you will have a lot of fans probably waiting for your day.
Yeah. In Haiti, I'm dying to go back there, so we're working on that with my Liberland passport. You made an interesting point about like a country doesn't need to have recognition to be a country, because I look at Taiwan. I don't know, more than half the world doesn't recognize them as a country, or more, or even more.
Well, actually, less than 20 countries now, to think about it. It's crazy.
Somaliland is another one, Kurdistan. All these places kind of function as independent, but they don't have recognition. They probably will never get full recognition, which is okay. I think it's an interesting point. What are some of your goals in the next 5 years? Here, let me ask another question. When do you think physically people will be able to live on the land of Liberland?
Well, there is a big change of paradigm for us in terms of settlement. Croatia is joining Schengen, so people will be able to go basically to Liberland area directly from Hungary without having to go through any border check, which is a game changer, because so far people have been arrested for going to Liberland either from Croatia or from Serbia, but this time they will be able actually to access the territory directly, and we will not have problems with people not being allowed to go to Croatia as well. So that's a big change. And also at the same time, we're preparing our houseboat project. So we want to put as many houseboats as possible there beginning next year. Now, those things are our priority, as well as finalizing the urban design for Liberland and building everything before we physically build it in our metaverse. So that probably you heard about that. That's with the Zahadi architects. We're building this metaverse where people will be able to come and see what they can build and what others build before it physically materializes.
So when you say houseboats, you mean people living on the water on a boat, not on
Yes,
the land?
we're making quite luxurious 2-bedroom houseboats. They are actually in production already. And I hope we will have at least 5 of them beginning next year.
Amazing. And you're not worried that the Croatian police are going to kick you out?
No, because they will not have any legal grounds for doing that, especially now with the Schengen. People can literally go directly from Hungary into Liberland area without passing any border, which is exciting.
That's really a big deal, the Schengen thing. And do you have any contacts with Croatian government or?
Well, I was actually in Croatia last week and a half almost.
I thought you were banned.
Yes, but that doesn't, disallow me to go to Croatia. We used the time to sail. We visited all good friends that we have in Croatia as well. And it was a great opportunity to basically discuss things with many people. And when I was leaving, of course, they had questions. What are you doing here? How did you get here, etc. But at the end, they just wanted some souvenirs and get the brochure to be updated on what's going on with Liberland. So that was a quite exciting trip that I had in Croatia last week.
That's pretty awesome, man. It's really incredible, like your journey right now. I mean, you've only been doing this since really 2015, or was it before?
Yeah, well, the 2015 year was completely crazy. I don't remember sleeping that year at all. So let's say 2016, when we seriously started to work and build the society and build the state infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, you also have, wife and kids, so it's, I'm on the road a lot too, and, have to negotiate time with my wife. I mean, it's the same, man. You're just, your foot is on the gas right now.
Yeah. But by the way, it was quite nice. 2 days ago, we went for this luncheon for First Ladies in New York. So Jana went with me. Actually, we enjoyed nice 2 days in New York together, which we didn't have a long time to spend just 2 of us. And this was a good excuse. If you're invited for the luncheon for First Ladies, I cannot leave Jana at home with the kids. And it was a great opportunity to meet other First Ladies and lobby for recognition, kind of from different perspective than we're usually doing it.
So you met other wives of other presidents from around the world?
Yeah, that event, that luncheon, was actually mainly about getting together for First Ladies. So that was great that Jana got invited.
Did you get to meet any other presidents or head of states?
No, because it's a luncheon for First Ladies. So I was there a little bit extra. But it was also a good opportunity to meet some other officials and prime ministers, etc.
How many other people in the world right now are starting a country?
I think there are some projects that I just mentioned that are kind of following the path, and they're quite serious, well-funded. But none of them really went public yet. So we will see. Yeah, I think there will be quite a lot of competition for us in the near future. Not yet.
It's crazy. Like, I've been to every country. There's been around 250 people that have done that. So I'm not in my own stratosphere. But like, you are the guy starting a country. That is so cool, man. Do you have any words of wisdom or any advice that you want to share with all the viewers right now?
I just believe it's a great opportunity, really historically, to become part of a new country creation, and that it's a great opportunity which shouldn't be missed. And we're a great community. It's 700,000 people all around the world, on which you can rely. We are liberty-oriented people, and we would love to have anybody on board who shares our values.
Love it. Hey, Vít, this has been a great chat, man. Please stay tuned for the video. It's gonna make waves around the world when people hear about Liberland. And hope to see you soon. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Drew. And I hope you will join us for one of these diplomatic visits soon.
Absolutely, man. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Vít. Just want to say thank you to Vít for joining the podcast. I had a great time talking to you, and I know we had to cut the conversation short because you were in a hurry, but just want to hop on here and share a little more of my thoughts about attending the Floating Man Festival in Liberland and meeting so many amazing people. First of all, it's one of the few places I've been where there's so many creative and innovative brains in one place, all working together towards one mission: freedom. It's a really cool idea that has almost become a reality. I mean, you can use your Liberland passport to enter many countries, like Colombia and Malawi and Dominican Republic. And actually, I got my passport, which I never mentioned in my YouTube video. I'll mention it in a future video, but I got my Liberland passport. I'm one of like 1,000 people that have it. So I'm planning to use it to enter Haiti pretty soon. for another video. And, you know, it's really, really cool. And a lot of people are asking me the question, like, so what does count as a country? And I think it's fair to talk about this because, you know, I even have a tattoo on my arm that says 197 because that is the number of countries that I have listed in my book when I visited every country in the world. So the answer is the UN has 193 officially recognized countries by the UN. I add 4 to that list because those are the 4 most country-like countries out there, and that is the Vatican, Palestine, Kosovo, and Taiwan. Now, if you talk to any Serbian, they will say Kosovo is Serbia. If you talk to China, they will say Taiwan is China. And if you talk to Palestine, well, you guys know the issues with Palestine and Israel. So there's a lot of debate between what makes a country, and it's a fun conversation to have. If you include all territories, and what do I mean by territories? I mean countries that are self-declared as independent, like Somaliland or Kurdistan or Bougainville, which is near Papua New Guinea. There's a lot of countries that you can add to that list. And there's also places like Aruba, which is technically a Dutch-speaking and Dutch-owned country, but it's in the Caribbean, which is nothing like the Netherlands. Or French Guiana, which is in South America, and it's run by France, but it's different culturally. So if you include all those territories, there's somewhere around 327 unique countries in the world. So 197 is only barely scratching the surface. And sure, we can count Liberland as one of them. I do think that there's a lot of potential for it to grow and spread the word. I mean, Vít is an amazing guy because he has so much on his back that he's literally building a country from the ground up. Think about that. How many people have you met and they're like, oh yeah, I'm starting a country? I mean, there's like no one that's doing it. So, but he's such a cool guy and he's friendly, and he took me around, and it was pouring rain outside when we were on the boat, and he was out on the boat in his suit fixing it in the middle of the rain, you know, with Croatian and Serbian police chasing us. He's a really ambitious guy. He's really personable. And it's a really special thing what he has going on with Liberland. I have a lot of hope for it in the future. I plan to be using my Liberland passport to travel, but also to go back to Liberland. I would love to revisit. I would love to continue the conversations I had. It was almost like a part crypto event, which is cool. I've attended 4 or 5 crypto events over the last year around the world, and there's a lot of, you know, Bitcoin and metaverse conversation and going, and the way that the tax system is going to work is that it's all on the blockchain. So everything is transparent, and there's no corruption, and there's no cheating. And it's such a cool environment. And what I haven't mentioned about Floating Land Festival is it was also a music festival. So we had all these acts from Serbia and Croatia, both countries. We're talking about DJs, reggae bands, music singers. Everyone was there hanging out, drinking beer, and it was one of the most fun I've ever had in my whole life. Liberland is something that I often think about, and you know, I'm glad that the video came out just recently, and the reviews and the comments have been great. So I really encourage you guys to check out the Liberland video if you haven't already. I had an absolute blast out there meeting people. It's a special story, and this is the kind of content that I love to make, the stories that I love to tell. Most people told me in the comments that they never even heard about Liberland, and that gets me going. I mean, everyone knows about France and Thailand and, I don't know, Spain, Russia, Canada, the UK, the USA, but we talk about Liberland, a new country that is in a former Yugoslavic territory, which, by the way, Yugoslavia is by far the most interesting region of Europe. It's Eastern Europe, it's grungy, it's grimy, it's dirty, but the people are so kind. And the fact that Liberland is just a little hidden gem on the banks of the Danube River in between Croatia and Serbia gets me excited. I hope you guys get inspired by this conversation. I hope you check out Liberland and look into the e-residency card, and no one's paying me to say these things. Vít is just a friend, and I'm making this content because I believe in it, and I think it's super interesting. Hope you guys will look into it if you want to attend the annual Liberland Festival. It is in August every year, so you can just check their website. It's called the Floating Man Festival. You can probably reach out to Vít himself. He would probably respond to you because he's really good at communication and very personable. And this is going to be an ongoing story. This is just the first episode of Liberland, this conversation with Vít and the video, but there will be follow-ups, me using my Liberland passport to enter Haiti and other countries, and going in 2 years and seeing that there's actually people living on Liberland and that they've made a serious decision to live on the land and build an airport and build infrastructure and have telephone wires. It's a fascinating topic. I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. Leave a comment below. It would mean the world to me if you could rate this podcast if you're enjoying it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even on YouTube. These conversations are on YouTube, like I'm speaking to my camera right now. So if you're listening to this, you know that you can go on YouTube and type in Roots of Humanity, and you can actually listen and watch the conversations as they're happening. I have many cool guests coming up in the future. I know you guys are going to dig it. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this space. It's a place for me that I can get deeper in conversation because my videos are very quick and I meet people and then they go away and my editing team is cutting footage left and right. But this is just a free place for me to talk. And I'm even rambling right now and you guys are tuning in and listening and it's just a blast. So love you guys. Hope you're well wherever you are in the world. And I will see you guys next week for another episode of Roots of Humanity. Take care. All the best. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast episode. If you feel inspired by this conversation, please share it with somebody who would enjoy listening. And if you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, don't forget to leave a review. Every week, I'm going to be looking through them and highlighting my favorite one. And with that all being said, I will see you guys next week.